Hello, Gareth here. So in this video, this watercolor demo, we're going to paint this scene. So I'll give you a few background details. This place is called Mia, and I went there about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I had some big misadventures, and I made a video about that, which you can see in the description box below. There'll be a link. So anyway, in this video, you're going to learn about how to paint a big mass of trees. And you're also going to learn how to paint a cluster of rocks. So, but the most important thing is to have fun. Now, I do have a confession to make. Don't worry, my confessions are not that bad. And my confession here is my bridge in my painting is too blue. So when you do your painting, maybe you can do a better job. I hope so. So anyway, I think that's about everything. If you skip to, I've got notes. If you skip to the end of the video, then you can actually see my final painting and judge for yourself and make a comment. Don't be too hard on me though. I surrender. Nice comments are really welcome though. Hint, hint. But anyway, I'm beginning to ramble. So I think there's one more thing I want to say, which is, yes, here there's going to be a big reference image. So if you want to, you can pause the video here and use that as a reference image when you paint your picture. So I hope that's useful. And now, without further ado, let's begin. The first line you make is the most challenging one, and most likely the wrongest. Can you say wrongest? Wrongest line. So it's good to just take your time. I'm looking at my photo and thinking very carefully about that first mark. So maybe about here, I think. And an important point is the bridge goes slightly up like that. There's a slight angle. Then we've got that guardrail. I don't have to draw it completely correctly, but just as long as I've got an idea. Then this ends about here, and then this ends maybe about here, and then the midpoint is here. So it's not even what we can see of the bridge. We can see this further side, a lot more, sorry, of this further side. And this nearer side, we only see a little bit. Oh, using the wrong pencil. This is better, it's softer. So let's have a look. And then down here, we've got our bit higher. So I'm trying to measure where this shoreline or riverbank begins. So roughly, I think about over 1/4 of the way up, but not 1/3. So maybe about there. And then that angle is too sharp. That's better. And then it finishes about there. And then that's where we've got our tree. It comes out like that. And then it goes up above here, all the way over here. And it is very lumpy, a lumpy tree. So that's working quite well. And then over here, we've got this post, and then continue. Here we've got a tree, and it's got a very expressive shape. Wow. I'll roughly try and capture that. And then down here, I don't know if this is the tree or bushes or what, we've got something. And then over here, we've got something. And then here, we've got a conifer, or maybe a conifer. And then behind it, we've got a house. But I'm not sure whether to add that. I think maybe not. Then behind I've got a background, but I'm not going to draw that because it's quite easy to do that. Okay, and then this comes out actually a bit further than I've done it. So beginning to look good. And then here, this comes down, and then this curve is very difficult. And then here, we've got this lovely bit of rock with grass and all kinds of things. So just roughly indicate where the greenery begins and where we've got some rock, very roughly. And then we've got this tree here, and just roughly, just a few lines to indicate that. Doesn't have to be complete. And then we can see a little bit of water here. I don't know whether to include that or not at the moment. Just thinking about that. And then the river, so some stones there, and then the river goes like that, the river edge. And then I've got some rocks, a lot of rocks. I'm not going to draw all of them, just some of the really big ones that are really important. I think, yeah, and then here. And I think that's roughly about it. This is slanted a bit. I don't really have to draw that, but there you go. And I think that's it. Just checking. Yep. And maybe here too. I think that's looking okay. So let's begin. And the first part is very, very easy. We're just going to do the sky. I'm using my mop brush, and I'm basically just going to dampen the paper, only dampen. And I should add some clips to the bottom. I like to use a spiral bound pad. Okay, and then I'm going to use my oval brush, and here we've got blue sky. So I'm going to get some blue. I normally use Cobalt turquoise light. It's a very light blue, but I've run out. So this is cerulean blue. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but that's how I pronounce it. And that's looking nice. And have it come down here. And I'm going to erase it there because I want that to be a pure yellow tree. And then I'm going to do some grey, so my blue, a touch of red, and a touch of yellow ochre. And then let's do here some grey. I'm kind of exaggerating this, but it will fade as it dries. I think that looks okay. Might be a little bit of grey here and there. And just a tiny bit more blue in that sky at the top there. Variety. And then I'm going to soften this bottom bit. Have to be fairly quick. If you leave this too long, it will dry a lot and then you'll get a cauliflower when you do this stage. So don't take too long. And then I'm going to wipe it out there. I haven't got tissue paper. I recommend tissue paper, but I've only got kitchen roll. It's a bit more difficult. So I'm going to use my brush actually. So I use the kitchen roll and dry my brush and then wipe this out. And if the brush gets a bit dirty, wash it, wipe it, dry it out, and then take out some of this blue. And that's the sky done. Next I'm going to do some of the greenery at the bottom here and then the rocky shore. And I can see that I might have made a mistake. Yeah, there. Oh dear, oh dear. So, like that. Okay, so I'm just going to add a touch of pure yellow here. And then maybe over here too. And you can do this very roughly with little white gaps left. That's actually going to be a good thing. And then let's make that shore. So I'm using yellow ochre, a touch of alizarin crimson, hopefully just a touch, and then water. And that's the colour I want, but I haven't got enough. So repeat the process. And I think, yeah, that's nice. Now, if I can get some tiny white gaps, then that's really good. And what I'm going to do in order to try and achieve that effect is use my rag and dab my brush on the rag. I'll just move that so you can see a bit more clearly. Sorry about my rag, it's filthy, isn't it? I need to buy a new one. They get dirty very, very quickly. So I suppose this is a kind of dry brush effect, but it is a dry brush effect. So if you move your brush quickly, and it's quite a dry brush, you should get a good dry brush effect. And then let's do up the side. up here a little. Oh, it's a bit wet. And then around here, it's a mix of, it's a yellowy green, no, a browny green. So yellow ochre, then some of this cerulean blue. Yeah, that's nice. Oh, it really is fun to paint in watercolor and do all these lovely expressive brush strokes. And then I'm just going to water that down here. And then I'm going to do this bit here. So I need a green, but I don't need it to be too vibrant, because if it's too vibrant, it's going to compete with this tree here. And what we want to do is exaggerate the perspective and make this area here look further away and less conspicuous, so that this tree really sticks out. So that's a design kind of thing. I'll add a touch of yellow though, because it's too dull. I think that will do. I will later on go over this with a blue wash, which will really make it look more faded and distant. And it's not actually accurate, it's an exaggeration, but I think it works well. Okay, have to go around this tree here. Yeah, and that's it basically. Maybe I should add a touch of brown in there, because there's not much variety. It's too boring. Okay, that is basically it. Let's leave it all to dry. I might just spray it because I might get some texture. So when you spray, don't spray directly at the paper, spray horizontally. Sometimes I forget. Now it has dried, and I'm going to do the background. So it's like what is it, like some kind of big hill with trees, all covered in trees. That's it. Now it is quite, the colors on that are easy to see, but because I want it to look like it's far away, I'm going to make it look more bluer or grayer. I'm going to take away the vibrancy of the colors. So I'm going to use blue. I'm going to mute the colors. That's what I should say. Then yellow ochre. And then this is still too vibrant, so a touch of red. That's way too much. Too warm. More blue. So I think that's quite good. Maybe some more blue. Now we've got a kind of grey green, which is what I want. I'm just watering it down a bit. So it's going to go from here. I go around these yellow bits that are going to be trees. That's tricky. And then it's going to go, oh yeah, it's going to go over here. So it's nice and watery, so I don't have to rush this, which is important, because I want to do lovely little bits like this around the tree to give it that tree shape. So this is, I think, negative painting. I really don't like negative painting. It's very difficult. And then we can even come down here about there. And then maybe a few pointy bits. They're little fir trees. Yeah, I think that's quite nice. And then I'm going to try and make this a little bit bluer for the distant part over here. You see how cool that is? And maybe we can leave a few little white gaps. I think that looks quite interesting. And then I think that's it. Oh, maybe this bit here. Okay, so that's that done. Then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do like the shading for this area. So this is going to be a lot of blue, and then maybe we can use a touch of this. And I want to keep this quite simple. There we go. And I might do a few darks down here. My voice might sound a bit strange. That's because I feel like I'm going to cough. And that's going to give me a lot of trouble with the video editing. So I'm trying to hold a cough down. So if I sound a bit strange, that's the reason. So there's a few darks here. And then here there's a few touches. And then I'm squinting my eyes and looking very carefully at this and just seeing that it reads well, that it looks fairly natural, doesn't look strange. Yeah, and I think that is good. Okay, so we need to let that dry, although I think maybe I could do a dark bit here. I'm just wondering what's here. Oh, the fir tree is there. Oh, that's a mistake. So what you can do, well, not completely, is we can fade that a bit like that. That will do. It has now dried, and I'm going to do the trees. So I'm going to use pure yellow. It would be nice to know what kind of trees these are actually. And okay, try to leave some gaps there. And there we go. I might do a touch of yellow ochre. I would say not a touch. That's quite a lot. But there you go. And there's a touch more here and here. So and coming down here, more yellow ochre. And here I've got some more. And then here it's a bit greeny. So I think that will do. Okay, back to the yellow. And then over here, use my yellow. I don't mind if I go over the edge. And then down here. There we go. And then here. And then here I'm going to do my fir tree. So actually I might do the fir tree all in one go. So I think I'm going to leave that for now. And what I might do next is this bank. So for that I need a touch of red, a touch of yellow ochre, and then use my rag and dry that. And then here we go. Maybe make it a bit bluer. Like that. I think that looks quite nice. And then we're going to do the same here. So sweeping strokes. So if we're very quick, we get that lovely dry brush effect. Okay, and let's just leave that to dry. This has now dried and we're going to do shading on the trees. So it is fairly easy. Basically we do this yellow with a touch of blue in it, mix. I might add some yellow ochre. And then I have to think about the direction of the sunlight, which is over here, coming down onto here. So this part is very yellow. And here it becomes, the space becomes a little bit smaller. So I start off with just little bits like that. And then these bits become bigger. That's all. And then let's do this one. I don't like that one. So I'm going to just erase a bit. I think there needs to be a little bit more yellow showing through, yellow gaps. And also this one. I'm going to spray it to stop this drying out. And then it's very green down here, but we want a few little gaps. And maybe that will do. And then do this bit here. This bit is a bit more difficult. Okay, then we're going to add some darker bits. So use some blue and a touch of red, not too much red, like that. I think that will do. And then just a few darker bits in here. So this is very thick, a thick mix. That's very important. If your mix is very watery, you won't get these patches. It will just spread out into nothing and not look very good. So I do this within the areas I've already painted. So it's kind of shadows within the shadows. Well, not kind of, that's exactly what it is. And once again, I'm squinting my eyes and trying to look very carefully at the overall pattern. And when I look at the photo, I'm doing the same thing. So I hope I said that. I'm checking all this from a photo I have, so yeah, it's not too bad. And then let's do the fir tree here. Okay. Actually, I might leave the fir tree for now and come over here. So I've run out of my mix. So let's make some more, some blue, some yellow, touch of yellow ochre. Yeah, that will do. And then begin with tiny little bits. And then slowly they become bigger. Okay, let's spray that. Keep it wet and workable, and then get some blue, darker area now, some blue, some red. It's a very thick mix. I have to keep saying that because my students don't do a thick mix, and so, well, sometimes they don't do a thick mix and then they don't get the right effect. It's really important. Oh, it's looking quite nice. It's got a lovely glow, brightness to it, which is often what you want in a watercolor painting. Okay. So it may take quite a while before you get good at doing this, at painting the foliage, but just stick with it. But I would be lying if I didn't say it takes a long time. I think you just have to keep looking carefully at your photograph, at your image, and trying to see the basic pattern. And eventually you will be able to do that. Okay, I think that's about it. Oh, very nice. I'm really happy with that. Okay, so now let's do that fir tree. So I'm using my dark blue because it's quite a dark colour, then yellow ochre and more yellow ochre, and then a touch of red just to kind of grey it off. We don't want it too vibrant. Yeah, can you see the difference? Okay, so now I need to splay these hairs, and maybe I'll begin here. And get that lovely brush-like shape. And then keeps on coming down here. Leave some gaps. Leave some gaps, Gareth. Okay, then we're going to do, maybe leave it, but we're going to do some shadows later. But I think for now, it's time maybe to do the rocks here. I've still got that cough. It keeps threatening to come out every time I speak. Life. Oh my goodness. So, I should begin with the big rocks, I think. That's quite nice. Now when you look at this, it really is super complicated, and the challenge is to simplify it. We have to paint less. Okay, now I'm going to do a grayer rock. Okay, so there's our grey mix. And try to do different shapes. And can you see how this different colour really makes the whole thing better? So it's important to notice things like that and remember them for future paintings. You know, that self-learning. I know it sounds obvious, but sometimes we can forget very, very easily. Okay. And we want some tiny stones that connect these bigger ones, or seem to. So that can be like little dabs like that, or thin lines. But remember, we're not going to do that up here because of perspective. We can't see them so well, but here it's very clear in the foreground. So most of my big stones are here in the foreground as well. Very important. Don't cover the whole lot with big stones. But we need a few tiny marks up here. Okay, and then let's have some really dark ones. Maybe that's too dark. Okay. So we're getting this lovely variety. So I need to stop soon, I think. Maybe that's it. and then there's one here, and over here just a few tiny marks. Okay, I think that's it. Let's leave that to dry. Well, actually, I just realized I could do this river. Ooh. So it's a browny color. Let's use this mix and maybe we can turn it into something brown, yellow ochre, red, and then some blue. Let's use some dark blue. Wow. Yeah, that's working. So it's almost like a chocolate color. Well, it is, I think. And then here we go. So maybe I should turn this around because I want a dry brush effect here. And so I have to move the brush quickly, and it's easier for me to go this way rather than this way. So, okay. And then I want to quickly spray this in a minute to keep it workable. Okay, so spray horizontally, not at it. Quickly turn it around. Make sure it's lined up. And then here, there's a lighter area. So wet my brush, dab it, use this rag, and then where this tree is, there's a light area there. Oh, you can tell I've done this fairly quickly because look how well I've removed that paint. So it's still quite wet, which is good. And then up here, there's also a lighter area about here. Now I'm going to try and add some yellow. I don't know if it will work or not, but you've always got to try and push yourself. It is scary, but we have to try and learn to enjoy the fear. I think that looks quite good, but yeah, when you do these things that are a bit scary, there is a very good chance you're going to ruin it. But over time, you will develop some really good skills. And look, it worked. I know I've got experience, so there's more chance of me succeeding, but it's still an important point that sometimes you do get a bit afraid, and it is good to face the fear and do it, because that's how you will grow. And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing watercolor painting, you still get afraid, and you've still got to try and push through the fear and have a go. Yeah, I quite like that. I'm just going to spray it. And then let's leave that to dry. Okay, now let's paint the bridge and the shadows, and hopefully the painting's going to come together now. But this is also a bit of a dangerous stage, especially when I do the post and the wires. It's quite easy to go wrong with them. So let's strap in and do our best. So I'm making a very dark mix. So this is blue and red and a touch of yellow ochre. we go. Ooh, switch my light on. Okay. So I just ease up to this edge like that. And I can take my time at this stage because it's just a small patch and it's quite wet, so it's not too dangerous at the moment. And what I'm going to do now is add some blue here because we need some variety with this bridge, and it will blend in. You will be surprised by how much this blue will blend in as it dries. And now I'm doing these little marks, creating the edge of this tree. Yeah. Ooh. And then maybe like that. And that blue just makes it look a little bit more interesting, I think. Okay. Now it is beginning to dry out a little bit over here, so I've got to hurry up. And here it gets very dark. Let's add some red. So this is a bit more purplish, and we can go into here. Oh, there's a bird tweeting outside. Sounds lovely. And trying to make it look nice, this edge. And up here there's a little bit more. And this gives it, hopefully, a sort of sense of continuity. I think that looks quite nice. And then there's a few marks here, but I've got to think about this drying out. So let's spray horizontally. And then, oh, it's bled a bit there. So get some tissue or kitchen roll in my case. Kitchen roll is not so good. And then we're thinking about shadows. So I'm going to come back over here and time to do some shadows. So I'll use this dark mix. And just put a few dark marks in there. And then, yeah, and there's actually a few dark marks here. You can't really distinguish between this tree and the bridge here actually, so when you look at the photograph. Okay, so then let's use this blue. It's a little bit tainted, and then with another colour. Okay, so we've got a shadow here. The sun's coming down like this. Something like that. And then there's a bit more here. If I can leave tiny little yellow flecks like that, it will be nice. It will look good. And even there. That really is nice. Blend that in. And here too, blend it in. And then this area here is very shaded. Oh, did I get rid of my yellow bits? There you go. And this area, oh, maybe it's okay because it's a natural stop there, but I've got some water here, so I need to absorb that with the brush, which luckily is quite dry. Yeah, there we go. And then this darker mix, and we're going to do some of the rocks up here. Yeah, and do some little dark areas in here. I probably need a thicker mix, but there you go. That's not bad. Just try and blend that in a bit, soften it. Okay. And then here. A few dark areas. And there too. Oh, not bad. Okay, and then here, maybe I got a little bit too fussy though with it, but there you go. Maybe here, there's a dark area. And then maybe there a little. I think that looks quite good, quite powerful. Yeah, you see how that blue, you can still see it, but it's blended in quite a bit with the darker colour. Okay. And then across here, I've got that road barrier. So here we go. So maybe use some blue and a touch of red. It's a grey colour. Ooh, have to be careful here. Yep. And some marks going down. Okay, now that has worked out quite well. Now for this, and I really need to make this thick for this post. I find it easier if I've got a thick mix. So all my three favourite colours, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson and yellow ochre, gives me quite a strong dark colour. Okay. Oh, that's a relief. Okay, and then hopefully we can do some thin lines. Fingers crossed. Okay. So I tend to look at the general area, not at one tiny spot, but the general area, and then just flick across. But it is very tricky, and it's very easy to end up with a really fat line. In fact, that line there is a little bit on the fat side, but there we go. Okay, last thing is to do a few highlights. So I use my bamboo brush and some titanium white. So this is opaque, and the main area is here. This is, I suppose this is actually my focal point, not here. Oh dear. I'm sorry everybody. Well, that's what it's going to be like with me, I'm afraid. Sometimes make some big mistakes. He couldn't even get his focal point right. I know. Just don't tell my mum, okay? So that looks quite nice. Maybe a little dry brush there and there. Yeah, that's a lovely sparkle there. And what else? Yes, on these rocks, we can bring some of these rocks out. Whoops, that isn't looking good. My mix is a bit too watery, so let's erase that. Let's have another go. Straight from the tube. Maybe I should have given it some time to dry out a bit. Yes, I've got a bit of a ticklish throat today. Oh, great. So I'm squinting again. I'm going to have a permanent squint, I imagine. So okay. Now it's a little bit watery. and I think that will do. I'm always doing this. I often say, oh, that's enough, finished, and then I just continue. I don't know what's going on there. So, okay, basically I think that's it. I'm not super happy with this tree. I might do a few more touches. So this is how you can touch up a tree. So get some white, touch of yellow, mix it up, and then here we can do a few more highlights, which will hopefully salvage this tree. And I think that's it. I'm trying to finish quickly because my family's just come home. And I'm just about to hear my daughter go, "Daddy!" Okay, maybe that will do. Maybe I've overdone it a bit there, but I still think that looks better. Maybe do a few there. Yeah, I think that's it. Maybe a few here. You see, I'm doing it again. There we, hello, there we go, finished. Okay, review time. So overall, I'm really happy with the painting, but let's look at the individual parts. So the sky, very, very happy with that. I think that's worked well. This background is very good. I'm really happy with that. Perhaps I could add a tiny bit more variety to it. It's a bit all the same colour, but I think good enough. Then the trees, I'm very happy with them. Perhaps I overdid it here with the titanium white and yellow mix, but I still think it's good. And I'm very happy with the river. It's got the lovely, this darkness and the sparkle and this sparkly area up here, as well as these yellow reflections of the trees. So that's great, and a lovely contrast here. And this is good. Maybe I did a few too many rocks. I certainly don't need any more, but I think that's good. And yeah, this is fine. But the bridge, oh, and I'm happy with this. But the bridge, although I'm quite happy with it, I think it's too light. So although I'm a bit nervous doing this, I'm going to darken it. So this is something you need to do with your own paintings, which is to have an honest look. And then if you can, try to correct it. Because I think it needs to be as dark as this, and it's not. Wow. Okay, and then here we go. So first I used my bamboo brush for that top part, and now I'm using my pointed oval, which is my favorite brush nowadays. It will probably change at some point. So this is a purple mix of blue and red, but it's very strong. Okay. Whoops. So this is what can happen when you try to correct things. You can make new mistakes. I'm just wetting this edge, and then I'm coming back here, maybe with my bamboo brush, and oh, that white paint is still wet, so I should have left it to dry a bit longer, but there you go. In we go. Okay, and I'm going to try and do the blue again. Could be a bad idea. Okay, and then blend it into this tree area. And then down here, we've got some shadows, light shadows within shadows. Yeah, that's nice. And I think that was a good improvement. And that's everything. So, what else can I say? So here we have the finished painting. So I hope you enjoyed this watercolor demo. If you did, then please like and subscribe, and please feel free to leave a comment. I find your comments very, very interesting. So I will be back in 1 week or maybe 2 weeks with a new watercolor demo. Bye for now, and happy painting. Whoops, I forgot to finish off here. Okay. So the alignment isn't perfect, but it's good enough. Okay, maybe not. Goodness me, I think I'm two people. There's one person that speaks and there's another person that does stuff. Okay. So okay, maybe now we've finished. Sadly, I didn't get the alignment quite right with this, but it will actually be hidden by the frame or the mat, so it's not such a big deal. But there we go. At last. Oh, no. Maybe here. Few marks. Okay. Now I've finally finished. No? Okay, maybe now. So, finished. So I hope you enjoyed it, and happy painting.